Jeffree Star had millions of dollars of makeup stolen. Shane and Ryland have explained why they got engaged in a parking lot. Jojo Siwa had a play date with Northwest because we live in a simulation. And of course, it's the return of YouTuber Watch. Who will it be this week? All this plus, what if I did the whole episode in this voice? See? You want to come for me, buddy? Here, stick 'em up, buddy. Here. On this week's edition of YouTuber News, hosted by me, Benedict Townsend, and brought to you by Pop Buzz, the only website that can give one of these, whoop, and one of these, hey-oh. I'm 25 years old. It's just really fun to make that noise. Our first story, Jeffree Star has posted a new video in which he reveals that $2.5 million of his new makeup products was stolen from one of his warehouses. Jeffree says, in today's video there's no humor, no sarcasm, just a story, a confession that I have to tell you. The last month of my life has been an insane roller coaster of emotions. He goes on to say, the things I'm about to tell you have been a nightmare that I've been living with for a few weeks now. So it looks like this has been a real ongoing problem for Jeffree. So what happened was basically, there was a big warehouse full of Jeffree Star cosmetics, unreleased things that haven't hit the market yet. They're due to come out at the end of April, but they hadn't been released yet. Some of them hadn't even been announced yet, and thieves broke in through the roof of the warehouse, got in, stole $2.5 million worth of makeup, which must have been very heavy, and then immediately started trying to sell it on the black market on Facebook and stuff. Now, here's the thing. I have sympathy for Jeffree, of course. It's very bad that he lost all this makeup, but coming in through the roof of the warehouse must have looked so incredibly badass. I mean, that must have been like some Mission Impossible nonsense, like when they're on this wire, but instead of like national security, it's just trying to get hold of some makeup. Now, happily, Jeffree won't actually lose out monetarily because, in his words, Rich had full insurance coverage. Nicely done, Jeffree. So he's gonna get all his money back. And that's a nice lesson for all you kids out there, all you b****s out there. Make sure you got full insurance coverage, bish. Hey kids, yo, is there anything more lit than going to a big insurance company and getting yourself some insurance? Hey-oh! Every kid these days is doing their best to have daily vitamins, drink water regularly. Oh, he's gonna do it. Whoa! Hashtag WHAAAOQO. And if you want to get on board with the WHAAAOQO challenge, which I've just invented, do hashtag WHAAAOQO challenge over on, let's say TikTok. How do you spell WHAAAOQO? It's obvious, isn't it? WHAAAOQO. Well, our second story. Jesus! It's the goddamn rat. Well done, sir. You got past our legendary security. I can only shake your hand. Please don't sue me. If you've not seen the show before, you're probably thinking, what the f*** is happening? Okay, anyway, Shane and Ryland got engaged, you know this, but this week, Ryland released a video in which he explained the story behind the engagement, and a fun story it is as well. Don't you think, Mr. Rat? All right, no need for that kind of language. You see, when Shane and Ryland posted their engagement pictures, obviously people were very happy for them, but they also had a few questions, like, for example, why are you in a parking lot? Or why is Shane down on both knees instead of one? Now, sadly, we never got an answer about the knee thing, and to this day, I really want to know what was going on with the double knee. I think it's like having a double engagement. You're extra married if you use both knees. But they did explain why they were at a parking lot. Shane said, quote, everything went wrong, but it was perfect. Kind of like my life, but without the perfect part. Just everything just going dead wrong. You ever kill a man in a Jenga game? Shane originally had an incredibly elaborate idea for an engagement. It was going to be based on the first time Shane and Ryland ever went on a date. You see, when they went on a date the first time, they went for dinner, and they came home, then Shane gifted Ryland a Hilary Duff mug, and then they sat and watched Ricky Dillon videos. So Shane quite reasonably said, my plan is, I'm going to take Ryland for dinner, then we're going to come home, and then Hilary Duff will be there, and she'll say, surprise, you're going to get engaged, and then they go out in the garden, and Ricky Dillon would be there with Snoop Dogg. But unfortunately, plot twist, getting Hilary Duff and Snoop Dogg and Ricky Dillon is incredibly expensive. You can get Snoop Dogg and Hilary Duff pretty cheap, but Ricky Dillon these days costs an arm and a leg. So Shane had to think of a plan B, and all of his plan Bs kind of fell apart. Nothing was really right. They kept getting in weird delays, mostly involving Ubers, but basically it ended up that they found themselves, Shane, Ryland, and some of Ryland's family, in a parking lot overlooking a beach. And Shane realized that actually there was a really lovely view of the beach, and he had the ring with him, and he thought, this is the moment. This is the moment for me to get down on one knee, and then a second knee, and pop the question. And Ryland, of course, was over the moon. They both cried. In fact, they said they cried for so long that Ryland's family just kind of left, because they were like, we don't really want to stand here and watch these people cry. That's an insane thing to do. All in all, it's a bit of a funny story, but with a nice happy ending, which is that they're going to get married. And are you? No, you're not. So shut your mouth and stop complaining. There's a mirror here, I'm yelling at myself. At night, I can still hear the Jenga blocks just fall. They're so heavy, you know, they're so small, but the way they can just get into a skull. Unbelievable. Our third story, Jojo Siwa had a play date with Northwest, and I, a grown man, am reporting on this as if it's a real news story. So who's the real villain here, folks? Hey, I'll tell you what, he's got 2 thumbs and he's right here. And he loves the rat. Jojo Siwa, who is the world's largest and loudest child, she's 15 and she's 5'9", and 5'9" is a lot taller than you think it is, had a play date with Northwest, who is of course the daughter of Kanye West and Kim Kardashian West. Kanye is of course famous for his great music and definitely nothing else that he's done, and Kim is famous as well. This all came about because North is a massive fan of Jojo Siwa and her big fun bows, and so Kim messaged Jojo and said, hey, can we have a play date? And you know, her being Kim Kardashian, Jojo was like, of course this can happen. So then North came round to Jojo's house, and if you haven't seen Jojo Siwa's house, it's a bit like if someone looked at Willy Wonka's factory and said, ooh, this is a little bit understated for me. Do you think we could up things a bit? And they had a very nice time doing stereotypical tweeny things. They made slime, they played games, North got on top of Jojo's strange custom car for some reason, probably denting it in the process, and they generally had a wonderful time, and this isn't news, and I just don't know why we're doing this. But, you know, good for these kids. They had a pure time. Listen, the world is pretty terrible right now, and always, and these 2 people, although they're eccentric in many ways, they had a nice day together, and isn't that nice? Just glad they didn't play Jenga. Just glad they didn't go near that deadly game of Jenga. That man had children. They were struck too. All right, let's move on. Now it's time for a segment called YouTuber Watch, where I focus in on one YouTuber and tell you what they got up to this week. Now, last week we had a Markiplier Minute, you guys enjoyed that, and before that, can't remember who we covered. But this week, actually, tell you what, why don't we let our new friend Mr. Rat tell us who we should cover this week? Mr. Rat, who do you think? Oh, where's he gone? Jeez! We've been over this, man. Don't scuttle on me. Can't stay mad at you. You're a plastic rat. It's time for James Charles Safari. Hi, welcome to the James Charles Safari, the show where we go on an expedition to see what James Charles has got up to in this grand savannah we call the YouTube world. Well, let's hop in our little Jeep with open sides, get our binoculars, but not our poaching rifles, and trek into the bush to see if we can spy some James Charles news. Well, James Charles had a pretty normal week, as he always does. He woke up, put on a full face of makeup, took some Instagrams, and then bought himself another piano. And whoa, what's this on the right? It's a lemur. A lemur of James went to Starbucks. And as we continue our journey, our guide puts his hand in the dirt and goes, 3 miles that way. It's the news that James bought himself a new phone case. Oh wow, and now we get to the watering hole, by which I mean James made a video. This premise is incredibly strained. I think the entire bit is going to fall apart any minute. But James made himself a video, and it was him doing makeup, and caca, what's that? The vultures are circling, but it's not for James, it's for me, because this joke is dead. But I gotta keep going. And what's that on the horizon? Oh my God, it's beautiful. It's clear, fresh water. I know we're at the watering hole, but don't worry about that. Clear, fresh water and palm trees. It's everything I need. It's comedy. It's a perfect little bit of comedy. That's what this segment desperately needs. But as I draw closer, I realize, no, it's an oasis. It's an oasis, no! Oasis! Oasisters, more like. Because this has been a James Charles Safari. What a great episode of James Charles Safari, everyone's favourite show. But of course, we'll never return to it again because, as I've established many times, we never cover the same YouTuber twice on this show. It's always someone different every week. So say goodbye to James Charles forever. Bye-bye, James. Never see him again. And next week, we'll be doing Dan Howe. I'm Benedict Townsend, and this has been YouTuber News, which airs every week on Snapchat Discover and on YouTube. If you want things a little bit more of a wide flavour, maybe there's a rat over here. Only the YouTube viewers know. Before I go, I'd like to leave you with some wise words from my late, great-grandfather, who said to me, "Hey boy, draw near to me." "What is it, Grandpapa?" "Never, ever forget." And I said, "Nice." And that, folks, tap, 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 it's the motherfucking tea! Well, Raddy, another episode of YouTuber News in the can. I really couldn't have done it without you. You can say that again. I can't believe that the janitor was the murderer the whole time. I guess it was the mask he was wearing. I guess rat's the end of rat. Well.